We knew about it for a little while. We didn't have a story way in. We didn't have a story that we felt like we could tell. It wasn't until we talked to Steve McFeely, who was, the writer on, along with Chris Marcus on the other Marvel films with us, that we landed on a concept where we all went, okay, that's a story worth telling. And it's brilliant to have Robert back, and there's no better actor in the world to play, that character. And we think that the story we came up with is challenging and it's going to be surprising to audiences.
What is good, YouTube? Warstu here with a video on Avengers Doomsday. So, the Russo brothers are on their press tour, stroke doing premieres for their new movie, which is coming to Netflix, The Electric State. And of course, they are getting bombarded with questions about Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, which actually changes everything that we thought we knew about both movies. And again, I keep telling you, it reaffirms that scoopers don't know anything about this movie because they are still rewriting it now in a way. But they can rewrite stuff whilst they're filming. So the fact that the script isn't 100% done doesn't really matter. And they will start filming very soon. So if you are new around here, make sure to subscribe to never miss any of the Marvel, DC, Kaiju, Monsterverse, pop culture-based content that I try to deliver on a daily basis. If you're good, subscribe to the channel, turn notifications on, and let me know how freaking excited are you for the future of Marvel. We have Thunderbolts, we have Daredevil, which just started back on Disney+, and we also have Fantastic Four later this year. So, let's break it down. But first, check us out on Instagram at Warstu to see the beautiful face behind the beautiful voice. I am planning to come on camera a lot more, but if you could check us on Instagram, that would be much appreciated. And also, if you could check us out on Twitter, Warstu. Right, let's get into this video. So there's a lot of convoluted, contradictory information. Now, so from these interviews, it seems that Dr. Doom, Robert Downey Jr. was actually on board before Jonathan Majors got fired as Kang the Conqueror, but this was post Quantumania. Now, we know there were rumors that Marvel were getting a little bit skeptical about Kang, but Dr. Doom RDJ was on board a year before Comic-Con? That's freaking wild. But you got to remember, I was literally the only YouTuber that kept telling you Doom was the actual overall villain. So this came out recently. There's so many articles. There's so many interviews because they're doing a press tour. There's premieres for this new Netflix movie that essentially RDJ was on board 1 year before anyone knew he was. That is freaking insane. So in an interview with Jake's Takes YouTube channel, very good interviewer, Robert Downey Jr. tried to convince the Russo brothers to direct Doomsday a year before they signed on. Anthony Russo, Robert is one of the most talented performers on the planet. For him to be motivated to explore a new character like Victor Von Doom, it doesn't get any more exciting. Now that's insane because everyone assumed when he got revealed at San Diego Comic-Con last summer that he signed on a month or so before that, but he didn't. He was already on board. So that tells me that yes, I am true. I am telling the truth when I tell everyone that scoopers don't know anything. And just like fans, they are literally guessing most of the stuff. So the Russos have also come out and spoken about how long the movie is going to be. Now, I think this is weird, right? Because it doesn't really matter. But obviously, they want to outdo Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, which I believe they can do if the plan is executed in the way they want to do it. So they said the runtime will be 2 hours 50 for Avengers Doomsday, and the runtime for Secret Wars will be 3 hours. But the thing is, you're going to have to add at least 20% off that, or take 20% off that, because they haven't even started filming yet. So in order to have a massive story, it's going to have to be 2 hours, 30 minutes plus. But that is freaking wild because they haven't even started shooting, so they have no idea. But the fact they said both movies will be well over 2.5 hours tells us the scales of this movie are going to be insane. But we already know this because they're filming in England, which means they can't do the standard Marvel and lie about the budget like they did for Captain America 4. When you film in England, you have to make the budget public knowledge because you get a tax rebate in England if you film for 30% of the budget. So we're going to know how much these movies are actually costing exactly. And we know they're already building sound stages at Pinewood Studios. And that's why they can't film Doomsday and Secret Wars back to back, because they're going to have completely different sound stages, completely different sets. And that's before you even factor in Spider-Man 4 is also shooting at the exact same location. Interesting. So is Spider-Man 4 really going to take place on Battleworld, like a lot of people seem to think? And the Russos went one step further, which actually makes me a little bit worried. But they did hit with Infinity War. It says this: they will be filming mostly on sound stages. Oh my God. Green screens, blue screens, crazy CGI and VFX. Sound stages can be good if they are done properly. And it also went on to say they've picked specific filming locations to avoid leaks. Although I cover leaks, I cover spoilers, I don't actually like covering content when we're talking about actual set photos, so on and so forth. So this was with an interview on Collider.com, where this was revealed about the sound stages. Realistically, although a lot of Infinity War and Endgame was leaked, it was still self-contained. And if we use Deadpool and Wolverine for an example, right? And everyone said I was capping in the comments. I wasn't capping. We didn't actually get that much footage from Deadpool and Wolverine that leaked in the sense of we're actually getting to see it. So I really do think the leaks for both movies will be very self-contained. For example, they're shooting Supergirl at the moment. There hasn't been one single leak yet, has there? No. So a lot is not known about Avengers Doomsday. Let's be honest, lads. Because the concept artists, images that appeared on the internet are mostly to do with Avengers Secret Wars. And you got to remember, the Russos keep saying this is going to challenge the audience, right? And then we factor in what they've said about Robert Downey Jr. He is rewriting and writing a backstory for Dr. Doom himself, right? So this ain't going to be a standard generic carbon copy from any comic book run. He said this: Robert Downey Jr. is writing a backstory for Dr. Doom as Avengers Doomsday gets ready to start filming. He is so immersed in it. He is so dialed in. He's writing a backstory, costume ideas. We were just on the phone with him this morning before we got here, talking about it, said the Russos. He just loves real, rich, three-dimensional characters, and I think it's a real opportunity here with the characters. Downey revealed his Doom casting in a shock or Comic-Con last year, as he spent 11 years in the MCU playing Iron Man. Downey's villain will debut in Avengers Doomsday in theaters in 2026. Now, what is interesting is he said, same mask, same task. I don't think anyone knows what's going to happen in this movie. Sure, we know what's going to happen in Secret Wars, essentially a version of Doom. I still don't believe Robert Downey Jr. is the real Doom. I think that's going to be someone else. We know God Emperor Doom is going to accumulate some variation of Battleworld, and heroes and villains will be fighting each other. But what happens in Avengers Doomsday is actually up in the air. Of course, Loki's going to have to be involved because he's holding the main timeline together, the 616, if you like. But it's going to be interesting to see how. Because we got to go back to the earlier interviews when they said, we found a way to make this interesting. We found a way with Stephen McFeely that's going to surprise. It's going to be challenging for audiences. Now, I don't exactly assume this just means there's going to be multiple deaths, because outside of RDJ, Iron Man, and, you know, the original, the real Black Widow, there wasn't really a lot of deaths. Sure, everyone got snapped away, but everyone came back, except for RDJ, Iron Man, and except for Black Widow, you know, the real Black Widow. We don't really know a lot about this movie. So scoopers like to chime in and make out they knew a lot of stuff. But even these leaks that came out, the concept art, none of them knew absolutely anything to do with that. So it's a good place to be in with a Marvel fan, because leaks and stuff like that helps build hype for movies. And hell, Marvel really needs it at the moment. They really do. So you know me, I think Alex Perez is one of the most viable scoopers, because he doesn't really say, yo, I've got a scoop. So he also came out with a Q&A, and he was asked some questions about Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. It's worth saying that he just gives his opinion and kind of chimes in when he's heard something. So he was asked a bunch of questions, so let's let's go over the main kind of important questions. So he was asked this question. Anything about Loki's role in Avengers Doomsday / Secret Wars? Alex Perez says this. Here be our MacGuffin. Their race against Doomsday will be a race to see who gets to Loki first, which is interesting. Then he gets another question. Hey, Alex, it's always a pleasure. I know you've said in the past you're not for certain who's the new Avengers, but given the filming is next month, do you know who the new Avengers are? He says the new Avengers won't be formatted at 100% until Secret Wars. They're dissembled in many different groups, which won't come together until said movie. It's why they lose in Doomsday. Now, we all know they're going to lose. He was asked who's going to be the key players, and most of these answers are generic and guesses. Doom is at the top tier of the list. The Fantastic Four, Doctor Strange, Warstu, Spider-Man, Captain America, Captain Marvel, Wong, Bruce Banner are a monster list, with a handful of mutants that I can't mention just yet. Now, normally, I don't like it when people say I can't mention this because they'd be exposing, but Alex doesn't really put anything behind a paywall, so that's why I give him a bit more credit than the other ones that chuck everything behind a paywall. But Alex Perez doesn't do that. He just puts it out there, and he always says, this is what I heard. At the same time, he always says stuff like, yeah, it could change. Now, this is a really interesting question. Any truth to the rumor that they concealed of Doomsday is the Doom's origin is a take on what if Tony Stark was held in a cave with Victor Von Doom instead? Interesting. And he says, I have no comment, but I personally don't think so. Now, I honestly think it's everyone's playing a dual role, and they've told you right now Downey is playing Doom because really it's the real Iron Man. And I honestly think that is the way they're going with this movie, but who knows? By the time they get to Secret Wars, I honestly think that is the way they're going to go. So he was asked a question about what's Doom's motivations going to be in Doomsday. Because if Doctor Doom isn't in the post-credit scene or isn't introduced during the Fantastic Four movie, personally, I think at best we may get some post-credit scene. Then Doom's going to have some motivation. So he states this. Doom wants to stop the incursions from happening and stop the multiverse from entirely collapsing on itself, in a way. And that's why the other question when I said they're racing to get to Loki. He's technically a hero in his eyes and the eyes of his followers. Kind of like how Thanos saw himself as the hero in Infinity War. I think people will have a better time processing the movie if they stop thinking of Doom as the ultimate villain, meant to swap out Kang at last minute, and more of the antagonistics who think he is the hero and is he who remains for essentially shutting his universe as well as every other universe on the timeline that didn't correspond to the sacred timeline and wants nothing more than to take the reins of his timeline and win his free will. So most of this, we don't know if any scooper insider actually has sources, but I would say Alex Perez is the only credible one, in my opinion. And also GeekyCast, although he's not actually a scuba. If GeekyCast backs information, generally speaking, it's true. And then people will lie. Cryptic HD, who is generally light when it comes to traders, and get some other information right. But you could assume Doom wants to find out what's going on with the multiverse, essentially. And seeing as Loki's supposed to be, God Loki, Atlas Loki, whatever you want to call him, is holding everything together. The question he answers said, yeah, they're racing to get to Loki because Loki's key to everything. We already know that. We don't need a scooper to tell that. We already know, like, there will be some MacGuffin. Every Marvel movie has a MacGuffin. Literally, it makes sense. So there are some nuggets here, and it's interesting what the Russos say. I am slightly worried about sound stages, though, because when they use sound stages, lads, it's just bad. But I get it. They can't film on location because, you know, they film on location when the sets are closed off. But they did the same thing for Deadpool and Wolverine, and minimal stuff got out. So we haven't gone over everything he said, but I'm pretty sure most of this information could be true. I don't believe there's going to be a massive delay and this movie isn't coming to 2027 and Secret Wars 2028. Respectfully, I don't believe that information. I think it's absolute nonsense. They don't need that long in post, to be honest, because they start doing post literally whilst they're filming. Like, you know me, I say how it is. That's why no one likes me, because I literally just say what I think. I don't pander to anybody, ever. But it is interesting how RDJ was back before Kang was got rid of. That's interesting. But at the same time, you got to understand, it's marketing. They could be lying. I don't believe everything at face value. But whatever happens, San Diego Comic-Con 2025 this summer, I am literally expecting the whole cast of Avengers 5 to appear at this Comic-Con to hype it the shiz up. I am really expecting literally everyone to be there. So there's also some other questions here, which I find fascinating. So it goes on to say, we've heard times that much of the inspiration for the upcoming Avengers films will be the Jonathan Hickman comic run, Fantastic Four times run out, etc. What are the main aspects from the Hickman build-up for the Secret Wars that you're expecting to adapt? And he goes on to say this. The impending doom of the multiverse due to the incursions and the creation of Battleworld, I think, are the main plot points they're planning to adapt, whilst trying to create their own thing. They're also the matter of the heroes we know going up against heroes and villains from other universes. So it's wild. So, you know, they've got to build up to Secret Wars, they've got to build up to some kind of Battleworld, and everyone seems to think they're going to use the Void to do this, and I don't really think that is the case. Hey Alex, assuming RDJ Doom has a team of evil variants alongside him, Hydra Captain, who else could you see? Perez says this, who said they had to be evil? They could just be misguided variants who are led astray by the promise of their world and universe being saved from the end of the multiverse by Doom. Yeah, there's so many different ways they could go with it. And I ultimately think the end will be the real Victor Doom appearing. And you figured out that because it's supposed to be a one and done, they're not using RDJ Doom after Secret Wars. But again, they could have lied when they said that as well. This is why you've really got to question everything when you read information, just because they said that. So I really hope RDJ isn't the real Doom, but he could be. But everything this article says on CosmicCircus.com is pretty cool. And the Russos answering questions on the press tour for their Electric State movie is pretty cool because, you know, it's getting a lot of people talking. A lot of content creators are talking about Marvel again, which is cool after the really negative press that Marvel's had after the train wreck that was Captain America 4. So likewise, guys, let us know everything that you think is going to happen in Doomsday, because realistically, I don't think anyone knows nothing. So likewise, guys, I'll catch you in another video very soon. Catch ya later.